Hello there everybody, and welcome back to another episode of An Ecologist Plays, where we are back in Ark, Survival Evolved. Now, I was running around trying to get some metal off screen, and then something happened. Something happened. There was a dinosaur on the other side of the beach, and, well, I tamed it. And there he is. And this here is Toro, the Carnotaurus. Oh, what an awesome, weird creature. Now, this one is olive in color, but I've decided to call him Toro in any case, after the Carnotaurus in Camp Cretaceous, the animated series. And they are characterized by these two horns on the top of their heads. They're the only known terrestrial two-legged carnivore with these weird horns on the head. Nobody's exactly sure what these horns were for. It is possible that they used it in some kind of display. Now, what we have are bones that are up to about there, roundabout, a little bit smaller than the horns are shown here. But then these bone horns would be covered by keratin, as it is here, which would make it a little bit larger. But nobody knows exactly how much larger. The entire species of Carnotaurus sastrae is known from one specimen, one fossil that had been discovered. But that being said, it was an amazingly well-preserved fossil with almost the entire skeleton except for the bits of the tail there, and I think a little bit of the lower legs missing. But they are well represented. The group of dinosaurs that the Carnotaurus belong to, the Abelisauridae, are very well represented. So there are quite a lot of them around the world, mostly in Africa, South America, and Madagascar. Marahuha also had Majangasaurus, which was a very similar species. While I'm talking, I may as well get some metal as well to smelt. But they are characterized by these weird, small little arms over here. Tiny, tiny arms. Useless in terms of pushing themselves off the ground, useless in terms of catching prey, or definitely won't be able to get to the mouth over there. So you thought T-Rex had tiny arms. Look at these tiny, tiny little arms. They're basically vestigial, meaning that they have no purpose whatsoever, and they are so weird. The fingers there had mostly reduced number of bones in their fingers. So where we have 1, 2, 3, 4 technically in our per finger. The one long one over there I think had 2, and the others had like 1 bone in their fingers. And then they had no wrist bones, so their fingers attached directly. Oh, that's nice. Thank you, Toro. Their fingers attached directly to their lower arm, and then their lower arm and their upper arm over there, the elbow, was basically pointless. Didn't really rotate, wasn't able to rotate at all as far as I recall, and the lower arm over here was only about 25% of the length of the upper arm. Now if you look at your arm, that's more or less a 100%. So your lower arm is pretty much the same length as your upper arm. In the Carnotaurus and most of the Abelisauridae, the lower arm, the part of the arm closest to the wrist, was much reduced in terms of size compared to the upper arm. But one amazing thing that they could do is they could rotate their arms extremely well. They really were in a ball and socket joint there, which allowed them a very wide range of movements. So these tiny, tiny little arms could rotate almost completely around. And in Prehistoric Kingdom, that one documentary that came out last year, narrated by Sir David Attenborough, there it was mentioned that perhaps they were using it in some kind of display, which is definitely possible, definitely within the realm of possibility, though there wasn't necessarily the evidence for that, because there was only one fossil ever found of the species. Now, one thing we also did have of the Carnotaurus within the one specimen that was found was amazingly well preserved skin impressions as well, because the dinosaur, the Carnotaurus, was lying on his side. There was some skin impressions of the face. However, that was unfortunately destroyed because the researchers at the time didn't realize that they were looking at skin impression on the head, so that was destroyed. But there is also on the back as well as here on the tail. Now, the skin in the game here isn't really correct because they wouldn't have these big crocodile-like scutes all over their body. Instead, they would have a whole bunch of these smaller little scales, very similar in shape at least to these ones, and then a few larger ones scattered in uneven rows all along the side. Really an awesome, weird dinosaur, which I really want to be using as my mount as we go on the island adventure in a bit. Just going to get the loot crate over here. As we're heading home, in a previous episode we of course tamed our Parasaurolophus, Elvis over here. But I never addressed the fold of skin that the Parasaurolophus in this game has between its horn or its crest and its neck. Now this was one of the original theories was that it had that fold of skin. However, it's unpopular at the moment. It's a theory that has fallen by the wayside, and most people say that no, it did in fact not have that fold of skin. As for if it did have that fold of skin, however, the crest and the associated skin there would have served a very good, probably a very good display function rather than for making sounds or communicating with each other. However, if it didn't have that skin over there, the crest, which I mentioned previously, was mostly used in communication. Now, not to necessarily just give out alarm calls or things like that, but instead actually communicating with other individuals of the herd. And the Parasaurolophus was most likely a very social and vocal species. So we've gathered enough resources and have been able to craft the Carnotaurus saddle. So, saddle up, big boy. We are going on a little adventure. So again, the two horns in the front there, as I was mentioning earlier. Oh, okay, you did. Philip, you did that. Good stuff, boy. Anyway, so as I was saying earlier, the horns on the front there, it's not 100% sure, we're not 100% sure what it was used for. It could have been used as some kind of display, especially if the horns were actually a little bit larger due to the keratin over it. But it could also have been used to fight other males. And there are two possibilities for that. They could have charged one another with their heads lowered and then ram into one another, and some would say that the horns there were strong enough to withstand that, and some researchers also believe that the head was able to withstand an impact like that. However, that part over there was possibly too weak for that, and they most likely would have fought by shoving one another the same way American bison do, rather than the way that bighorn sheep, for example, would do, if you're familiar with those animals. And there is another Carnotaurus. Right. Would have been great to tame that one as well. However, I don't think that is really a possibility. There is also a Therizinosaurus up there, which I'm also not very keen about. This beach is a little bit more dangerous than I anticipated. Let's go to the other side, see what is on that side of the river. But the Carnotaurus was most likely one of the fastest predators in South America at the time. They lived about 71 to 69 million years ago. So towards the end of the Cretaceous, they were around, and they could run up to 60 kilometers an hour. So 30-something miles an hour is what they would have clocked at. So they were indeed quite fast, as were all the other individuals in the Abelisauridae, the group to which the Carnotaurus and Majangasaurus and all those little ones belong to. Okay, I just had a quick look, and it looks okay in the water. There is a manta to the left-hand side there, a manta ray. In real life, they are actually quite chilled. However, in this game, I have been killed by a manta. But yeah, so Carnotaurus, I can't believe there's only been one specimen of this species. But yeah, there haven't been any other specimens of it discovered. But there is, of course, always hope that, more specimens can be found. Now, the species, the Sustray species name, is named after the person whose ranch on whose property the specimen was found. And so it's Carnotaurus sustray. And Carnotaurus means meat-eating bull. Taurus, of course, being bull. And then Carno, of course, carnivore, meat-eating. I must say, I was very stoked when I managed to get this Carnotaurus. He was running around just on the opposite side of the river from my base. Oh, there's a raptor. Oh, it would be great if we can also tame a raptor. Yeah, that would be great. Ah! Ah! Here he is! Okay, well, thank you, Toro. Ah, I was still getting ready to repair my bow so that I would be able to tame him. Oh, be still my beating heart. Yeah, I just pooped my pants over there. Or at least my character did. Okay. Well, good to know that at least Toro is able to protect us should the need arise. He still has a little bit of, well, I would say damage, but it's not damage because I have leveled up his health stat and he's just slowly but surely. Oh, I'm overheating. Okay, fine. Let's get off this beach. I need ghillie armor if I am to survive. It seems in that part. Now, as we are swimming across here, it's weird to think, but dinosaurs were in fact very good swimmers, or a lot of them at least were. With hollow bones, or relatively hollow bones, they were lighter than we anticipated. This creature here, Carnotaurus for example, weighed about the same as a Nile hippo. And of course, Nile hippos have no problem, well, I would say swimming, but they don't swim, they just run around the bottom. Now, Carnotaurus, like this one over here, it was about 1,500 kilograms in weight. So they were about the weight of a Nile hippo, even though they were double the height and double the length, more or less, of a hippo. These little guys would have had air-filled bones, which of course makes them lighter than they would otherwise have been. And there have been trace fossils found in marine deposits of clawed feet, big clawed feet, most likely of a tyrannosaurid, swimming in shallowish water. And they most likely, could swim surprisingly well. As we just completely wreck the Dimorphodon over here. Unfortunately, Carnotaurus' stamina is really very, very low. He runs out of stamina quite quickly. Which is similar to cheetahs, of course, which are the sprinters of the terrestrial world, of the modern world. And there is a piranha in the water there. Okay. So cheetahs nowadays can run very fast, much faster than Carnotaurus could. Definitely faster than my one is currently running. But that of course comes at a cost, where you run fast but you can't maintain it for long distances and you run out of steam pretty quickly. So they were quite possibly short distance sprinters, very similar to dwarves. We Carnotauruses are natural sprinters, very dangerous over short distances, but not made for long distance running, of course. So it is possible that they hunted their prey by just running straight at them at high speeds and then just, killing them with a few quick bites. Unsure exactly what they ate because there was only the one fossil and there was no remains or prey remains with it. They could have hunted smaller dinosaurs, but there are also evidence that they either hunted or scavenged the big long-necked dinosaurs that shared their habitat with him, because there are bite marks on sauropod bones that were made by a Carnotaurus, or at least a very similar species from that area. But here, as rain falls down on the island once more, and we are looking at our magnificent Carnotaurus, I want to say to you all again, thank you very much for joining me on this little adventure. You guys are awesome. I'm very happy that I can be making these videos for you again. If you enjoyed the video, please do remember to give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't yet. It really helps the channel to grow, and it enables me to reach more people and teach more people about these amazing creatures that used to live on our planet. So until next time, everybody, stay safe. I will see you all soon.